You hear the shovel before you see the pit. You're a Roman woman in sacred white robes, surrounded by priests, guards, and a crowd that knows exactly why you're here. Nobody is supposed to spill your blood. That would be sacrilege. So Rome has found a solution. They're going to put you underground alive. Yeah. Apparently that counted as not killing you. Later writers describe a tiny chamber with a little food, water, a lamp, maybe a bed. Enough for the state to pretend this isn't an execution. Then the entrance is sealed, and that is only one of the punishments Roman women could face. Because in Rome, your suffering depended on one terrifying question. What kind of woman were you? A citizen? A wife? A slave? A priestess? The daughter of a powerful man? Those labels could be the difference between exile and death. Rome loved law. Romans wrote laws, argued about laws, and then, when power got involved, found extremely creative ways around them. Elite women could become wealthy and influential. Some owned property, funded buildings, managed households, and pushed politics from behind the scenes. So no, Roman women were not all locked inside their homes like prisoners. But don't get comfortable. The same society that gave some elite women serious power could treat an enslaved woman as property. And if you became useful as a political sacrifice? Well, Rome had paperwork for that too. Start with the Vestal Virgins. These women guarded the sacred flame Vesta and were among the most respected women in Rome. They had privileges ordinary women did not. There was just one small problem. They were required to remain sexually chaste during their service. A Vestal accused of breaking that vow could face live burial. The Romans had a religious problem here. A Vestal was sacred. Executing her in the normal way risked polluting the state. So instead, she could be led to an underground chamber, placed inside with minimal provisions and sealed away. See the logic? We didn't kill her, we gave her food. Jesus. That is bureaucratic cruelty at a level almost impressive in its stupidity. Ancient sources sometimes connect Vestal prosecutions with periods of panic, scandal, military disaster, or political tension. That does not mean every condemned Vestal was innocent. It means an accusation like this could carry more than religious weight. Sometimes Rome needed somebody to blame. Now move from sacred women to married women. In 18 BC, Augustus passed the adultery law usually called the Lex Julia on adultery. The state was now sticking its hands into sexual behavior that had often been treated more as a family matter. Officially, this was about morality. Unofficially, Augustus was also trying to control elite families, inheritance, marriage, and public behavior. And the hypocrisy gets ugly when his own daughter Julia became the most famous casualty. Julia the Elder was accused of adultery and banished in 2 BC to the island of Pandateria. Her life was heavily restricted. Augustus publicly distanced himself from her. Her lovers and political associates were punished too. And here's the part that pisses me off. When a powerful man writes a moral law and then uses that system against his own daughter, we should be careful about pretending this was only about family values. It was also power. Under the adultery law, convicted men and women could be exiled and lose property. A woman's father had a narrow legal right to kill an adulterous daughter and her partner if he caught them in specific circumstances. The husband's rights were more limited than people online sometimes claim. Roman husbands did not simply have a universal legal license to murder wives for cheating. Quick reality check. You'll see dramatic claims that Roman husbands could kill adulterous wives whenever they felt like it. Nope. The rules were more specific, changed over time, and depended on status and circumstance. The real law is disturbing enough without turning Rome into a meme. But all of this gets darker when we leave elite women behind. If you were enslaved, the protection around your body could collapse. An enslaved woman could be beaten, sold, sexually exploited, separated from children, forced into labor, or punished for something she had little control over. And yes, it is exactly as disgusting as it sounds. Imagine the ordinary version. You sleep where you are told. You work when you are told. Somebody else controls whether you stay with your partner, whether your child is sold, whether your body is treated as yours. Now add punishment. Whipping and other corporal punishments were part of Roman slavery. Branding is attested in the Roman world too, though the details vary by period. And if the household became the scene of a master's murder, things could become catastrophic. A Roman rule known from the early empire required slaves in the household to be interrogated and potentially executed if their master was killed and they were suspected of failing to help. In AD 61, after the murder of the senator Pedanius Secundus, 400 of his household slaves were ordered executed. 400, the Senate debated it. People protested. They killed them anyway. Think about being a female slave in that house. Maybe you were in another room. Maybe you heard something. Maybe you didn't. It might not matter. This is where Roman law stops looking like justice and starts looking like terror with a legal vocabulary. And then there were women sentenced to public death. Roman authorities could condemn women, especially enslaved women and women of low status, to execution in the arena. Some were exposed to animals, others were killed as part of public spectacles. One of the best-known cases comes from Roman Carthage in AD 203, where Perpetua and Felicity were executed after refusing to renounce Christianity. Their story survives because a detailed account was preserved. And the crowd? The crowd was part of the punishment. You are not just dying, you are being watched. Thousands of people may be shouting, judging, waiting for the next part of the show. Imagine the walk into that arena. The light hits your eyes. You hear the noise before you understand where to look. There is nowhere private to be afraid. Rome could turn punishment into entertainment, and that is one of the ugliest things about the entire system. But here's another dirty little secret. Not every terrifying story about Roman women is reliable. Ancient writers loved scandal. They especially loved stories about sexually dangerous women, poisoning wives, wicked empresses, and female conspirators. Livy describes an episode in 331 BC in which many Roman matrons were accused of poisoning men during an epidemic. It is a fantastic story. It is also very hard to verify. Could poisonings have happened? Sure. Could later authors have shaped disease, fear, and rumor into a morality tale about dangerous women? Also yes. That matters because Roman women could be punished not only by law, but by reputation. Once the story became, she is immoral, she is poisonous, or she threatens Rome, almost anything done to her could be presented as protection of the state. Ah yes, very civilized, and maybe that is the worst part. The punishment was not always the whip, the island, the arena, or the underground chamber. Sometimes it was the system deciding what kind of woman you were before you even opened your mouth. A vestal became a religious threat. An adulteress wife became a moral threat. An enslaved woman became property. A Christian woman became an example. And once Rome found the label, the punishment became easier to explain. Centuries later, the marble is clean, the temples are ruins, the law books sit safely behind glass, but think back to that first woman underground, a little food, a little water, a sealed entrance, and an entire state telling itself, technically, we didn't kill her.